This is the Inspection Pros Podcast, where we break down everything you need to know to grow a successful home inspection company. Join host Jake as we get insider knowledge from the industry's best on how to take your business to the next level.
Welcome back to the Inspection Pros Podcast. Today I am very excited to have with me Dave Iava, the founder and owner of Pair Payments and Pair Payments Home Services. Dave, it's very nice to have you today.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. I'm happy to be here.
So Dave is actually the original person who thought of the idea of this podcast, who's been on podcasts here before and shared some fantastic information. Dave, in full transparency, runs the show here. He is my boss. We produce this podcast and Under Pressure over in the pressure washing industry. Dave, I just want to mention this because Dave has offered so much in terms of resources and advice and insight for people to help grow their business. So today we're going to be talking a lot about Dave's expertise. Some things he's an expert in, which is processing and no-fee processing specifically, which he brought to this industry. And then we're going to answer a lot of software questions, which when we talk to people in the industry talking about payment processing, a lot of home inspectors have a lot of software questions. So this episode here today, we're here to answer all the questions that we have had about no-fee processing, how it works, what it can do for your business, and then we're going to talk a lot about software. What the reality is, what the status quo of software in the industry is today. So we're going to focus on the no-fee processing and software. So right. Dave, just to start off, because I'm sure a lot of people know you and have heard you speak at various events in the industry. I just want to start off with, a little bit about what Payments does for home service companies, and then also, what was this no-fee processing that you introduced to the home inspection industry, and really how has it taken off?
Sure. Well, I'll answer the first part of the question first. When we decided to get into home services, we wanted to have a very singular focus on it. So we decided to break it off from our main company and start another company and put the people in place to actually focus specifically on that vertical. And we dove headlong right into the home inspection industry. And it's grown tremendously. We've been accepted by a lot of the communities in the industry, which has allowed us to grow. But we decided to take kind of a different tact in this industry from your typical processing structure. So, typically when you work with a processor, you sign them up. Yeah, they some provide good customer service, some don't, but you generally don't hear from them very much unless there's a problem or you need some level of technical expertise. We decided early on that we wanted to be more of an integrated partner with the companies that we work with. We wanted to make sure they had direct access to the people who run the company. We also wanted to make sure that we are able to provide information and services that are valuable. And we thought that one of the best ways to do that was to institute this podcast. And the goal of the podcast, and we purposely have backed away from really trying to hit you with a lot of marketing and say join Pair, because we really wanted it to be of value, something that you could go to as a resource. So we decided to make it less about us and more about you. So what we decided to do was bring some of the best minds in the industry together onto this podcast, really to focus on the business development side, not so much the actual how to do this, how to do that, how to inspect a water heater, how to determine if a roof is going to be leaky or needed to be repaired. Those type of things. You have experts in the industry. They all know all about that stuff. I don't. I don't know how to inspect a house. I work at my house, but I don't know how to inspect one. I leave that to the experts. But we do know a thing or two about how to run a business. And there's also a lot of people in your industry that know how to run a business. So, Jake, you've done a tremendous job bringing some of the best minds in this industry together on these podcasts to talk about what's made them successful. And one of the things I like about the home inspection industry is it's not throughout the whole industry, but there's segments of the industry where people have decided to really share and come together in a community atmosphere and grow together. And from my perspective, we decided to be a part of that. We wanted to share. We wanted that information out there because overall, the people that are in those communities, like, the IGOs, the IEBs, and people who work with us, they tend to be growing a lot faster than the people who aren't. So the people that, I just said this on another podcast that Jake and I did is, you may have come across something and you think you got the golden ticket. It makes no sense not to share it. Bring that information to other people and help them grow. And that was the impetus for the podcast is, okay, how do we get out there and share and help businesses grow? And it's been an incredibly successful journey. We're past our first year point. We have Jake, over 60 episodes now. And they're all archived on Spotify, so they're all titled. So if there's information you're looking for, scroll down the list of them and find, what's that topic that benefits you the most, or what's that topic that is a need that you have, and listen in on that podcast, because there's some great minds in this industry. Like, the Lemoynes are unbelievable, and Sean and Sylvia at Max Inspection. I mean, there's just some real brilliant minds out there that could really help you grow. And Dirk over at IEB, these are some real impressive minds, and we're bringing them together as much as we can for you. So
And Mark.
that's that. And Mark over at IEB, the new CEO. Congratulations to you, Mark. That's awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. But we are, that's the goal. We want to be a partner. We want to fit into that community strategy. And IEB is kind of, they're in pole position for that. That organization really is strong on creating community, and we really wanted to be a part of the IEB community, and we're happy to be there. We also want to be part of the IGO community as well. I mean, it's another community that's trying to do similar things, and they're doing a good job. So we're happy to be part of both of those things. So on to the second part of your question, what is the no fee, and why
Let me pause you right there. Because one thing I want to mention is, as Dave and I were thinking of this podcast, we really wanted to, when this started, we really wanted to bring you the experts. That's why we call it the Inspection Pros Podcast. It's not about us. And we really wanted to help you grow, because I want to show here, it's all about the actions and not just what you say, right? It's been about 2 years now. We've had this podcast. We've shared fantastic information. We don't advertise like crazy on here. We don't push you to pair payments. This is actually our first episode where we're going to talk about the pair payments offerings and what we can do for your business directly. And I just want to say thank you, Dave, because we have been able to get some fantastic information to home inspectors looking to grow their business. It's been a hugely beneficial process, and it's been a great podcast for a lot of home inspectors. But at the end of the day, when you say, why do this? Why would pair payments do this? The reason is because when our clients grow, we grow. We have a direct correlation, so we love to see and help our clients grow in any way. We're incredibly invested in that, and not just that, but the community. Because when you increase the standards of the community, the industry's, across all avenues, the industry is improved. So we want to increase the standards. We want to share all this great information, help people network. And so at the end of the day, as we always say, a rising tide raises all ships. And we want to be in there, have our hands in there in any way possible. So thank you, Dave. This is going to be a great episode, I know. So let's get into the no fee processing and the software. So I'll lead you into the no fee. So when someone says, like, all right, pair payments processing, what do you guys do? Not only do we give you the ability to accept payments in person and online, but pair payments, and this is due to Dave actually, pair payments offers no fee processing, which Dave will explain, but it basically, in layman's terms, general view, it lets you pass on the fee to the customer for credit card transactions. And this is a huge saving that's hugely beneficial to many home inspectors. Now, I do want to lead this off by saying Dave introduced this to the home inspection industry. Dave got this rolling, and now it is taken off. But I'm sure you'll get into the hesitancy at first and how that all went along. But I really want to talk about, once we talk about what it is, I want you to lead down the path of what can this do for someone's home inspection business. Sure. So let's start off, Dave. Give us the rundown. What is no fee processing, and how does it work?
Well, no fee processing got introduced into the market space about 10 years ago initially, and it was introduced into the retail segment, which was an unmitigated disaster. So the country wasn't ready for it. It really wasn't seen anywhere. People were almost insulted by the concept of it 10 years ago. Well, times have changed. Retail was absolutely the worst place you could have started because someone walks into a store and they see a price, they expect it to be that price, and they also have the ability to have a direct confrontation with the person at the counter. Yeah. So it was really not a good place to start. And so it kind of went away for a little while, and then inside of our industry, in our white papers and our periodicals that focus on our growth in our industry, it started to pop up again about 3.5 years ago, and people were starting to have communication about it and why it could be beneficial. And what really changed our industry was the advent of the Durbin Amendment back in 2013, which somewhat regulated the credit card industry, mostly so excessive fees could not be charged against debit cards, which is a direct access to your checking account. And most people don't realize that credit cards were born from personal checking and personal checking bank accounts that eventually turned into ATMs, that eventually turned into an ATM network, and then the banks decided, hey, we can loan money on these things, and that's where where credit cards were born. But when the Durbin Amendment came into place, almost all credit card usage, 85% of it, was done on debit cards. So when the Durbin Amendment took place, everybody, you probably remember this. You probably could go back where you walk into a store and people used to ask, is debit or credit? Because they're trying to guide you to debit because it saves them money. Well, the banks lost about $45 billion on that. And, I know you're saying woohoo for the banks. I mean, I agree with you, woohoo for them. But they weren't going to sit back and lose $45 billion. So they came up with rewards programs. And those reward programs cost money. And that they decided to pass that money on to merchants. So every time someone gets a cash back, or they get airline tickets to Tahiti, or they get points for purchase so they can buy a TV set, that's being paid by the shop owners where they're spending their money. So shop owners over time were like, well, why are we doing this? Why do we have to pay for their rewards? Which is a fair question, and one I agree with you on. Why do we have to pay for their rewards? So you started seeing no-fee processing long ago, before you even knew it. If you went to your town hall and you got a beach sticker or a dump permit, they charged a fee for when you use credit cards. And now that I've brought it up, you're probably like, yeah, I did. I remember that, But you always saw it at the gas station. So you went to the gas station, you saw two prices. You saw the cash price, which is not, by the way, a discount. That's when you see a cash price at a gas station, go to a gas station that doesn't take credit cards and or charges one price, you'll see the same price. They charge more if you use a credit card. So the no fee thing has always been there. All right, and you've utilized it a lot. So when it first came into play, I hated it. In the sense that, like, I would go to a gas station, I would see that they would charge, I only had a credit card with me, and they would charge more. I would drive 15 miles to the gas station that didn't do it before I realized how stupid that was, because it was only, it's only costing me an additional 25 cents per gallon. And I'm like, I'm using more gas to get there and more of my time, which has a lot more value. Why not just pay it? So for someone who would avoid the gas station, and now I go to those gas stations all the time, that bias that I had disappeared because it's convenient. My time was worth money, and the money I'm saving the money I'm paying is relatively little in comparison to the purchase price of the product. So when it came out 3 years ago, I was a little resistant to actually enter that market space because of my own personal bias. And eventually I got over it because it was starting to trend a little bit. When I say trend, I'm talking 0.5% of the market space. So it wasn't a very big trend, but it was trending. From 0 to 0.5% 1 year is pretty good numbers, So we started to think about instituting it in our restaurant side of the business and our other professional services and on our payment side. And it took off a little bit. We got a few clients here and there. And then 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, we started introducing this into the home services industry, mostly because we partnered up with a gentleman who was a home inspector. And over that amount of time, he saved a ton of money. He really liked it. He was able to take that money and apply it to other areas of his business and help his business grow. And then we decided, hey, this would be something we should take to the home services industry. So we have. Year two, 2 years ago, this really started to take off. We started to see a lot more of companies kind of coming on board and taking on the no-fee services. When I say a lot, I'm saying 1, maybe 1.5 out of 10 would sign up for this product. Then last year came, After 2 years of a pandemic-driven economy, people seriously looking to save money, it exploded to the point where we are now signing up 85 to 90% of our customers on no fee. So if you feel like you're one of those people that think this doesn't work or I'm going to piss off my customers, I rarely say this to a customer, but you're absolutely 100% dead wrong. We do not hear anything from customers. Customers don't complain because we give people a choice by offering them a free checking program too. So if they want to pay by check, they can pay by check. If they want to pay by cash, well, you can collect that on site. So as long as the customer has a choice, they don't really care. And the funny part is it does change a little bit. If you take 75% credit card, you might drop to 65 to 70%. But for the most part, people are still going to use credit cards. And either way, you don't pay a fee, so that money goes right back into your account. So the change has been dramatic. It's very few things I've seen change so much in 1 year. And if you're looking to follow the leaders here, who are the big companies? What are they doing? Well, I can tell you for certainty that all of them are doing it. The companies that are 8 million and above, 10 million above in the home inspection space, they're pretty much, I can't say for certain because I haven't talked to all of them at that level, but all the ones that I have come into contact with, every single one of them is doing it. And one of the very first lessons I learned in business is see what the big people are doing, see what the successful people are doing, and follow it. Yeah. And they're doing it. And it's funny because I always come across like a small guy or a small gal, and they're always arguing the point, this will never work. My customers will be pissed off. I think it's insulting. That's why you're a small business. So if you want to grow, these are things you got to think about.
So we saved well over $250K.
Just this quarter, we have saved about $30,000 in credit card fees.
Probably over $1,000 a month, at least.
Over $150,000 this year alone.
$180,000 the first year we worked with them, and it's growing every single year.
Thank you, Pair Payments.
Thank you, Pair.
I would recommend them to anyone.
Yeah, just wish I would have done it sooner.
I want to stop you right there. Sorry to interrupt, but you have a great point. We bring all these people into this podcast who have these fantastic home inspection businesses so that they can share the information of what they're doing so that you, the audience, can skip out on the learning curve or flatten the learning curve and take your business to the next level faster and grow at a faster pace, right, and not have to learn all of this yourself. And what I want to say is look back at the past podcasts we've had. Reach out to anyone that has offered advice if you reach out to them and ask them what they're doing. Because the vast majority, if not all, of the home inspectors that we have had on here are using no-fee processing, are huge fans of it, and have seen what it can do to their business firsthand because they've implemented it. We've been able to help them grow insanely fast. And so, Dave, that's the next thing I want to talk about with you is so we've covered a little bit about what no-fee processing is. You're passing the fee on to the customer, but you give them the option for cash or check. So there's no arguments, no objections. And even people who, Rob Lemoyne in Houston, IEB, had told me he's doing 21,000 home inspections this year across 3 locations. They've had no complaints. One person asked the question of what it was. So,
well, let's talk about Rob and Cap for a second because Rob, they do a ton of them, and Rob had mentioned to you, and he did a great testimonial for us about how after all those inspections, only one person asked about it, didn't even complain, they just asked. If you think a lot of Kat and Rob, and you should because they built a heck of a business. I could tell you, Kat is one of the most diligent human beings I have ever met. I mean, she grilled me on everything. We had a lot of communications for emails, phone calls. By the time Kat was ready to jump on board with Pair Payments, Kat knew my shoe size, what stores I shopped in, what I ate for breakfast. I mean, she knew everything about us, and she did her homework. And then you have other inspectors, like Sean over at Max Inspection, who I called him up and he heard 17,000. That was enough for him. He jumped on board right away. But that's Sean. Sean gets after it, So these guys are all different. These gals are all different. But these bigger companies jumped on it. They saw the value right away. They knew what it meant to their business, and they made these decisions. And whether it's with us or the other companies that are out there, it's just I will obviously Pair Payments would love to have you all, and we would love to work with you all. But other companies do various forms of this, but you have to do it. I mean, that's the bottom line. Just do it. Stop giving your money to banks. It's just not. It's not something you should be doing anymore.
Absolutely. So you kind of stole my next question. You already answered part of it, because I know you would get into some of what you just got into, but we got to know. So we covered what no fee processing is, but I want to hear from you. What can this do for your business? You have the top down perspective. You work with all these home inspection companies. Yep. You see how it's massively affected their bottom line, the business growth they have. It's just rocket fuel for business growth. So can you tell me, what can this do for your business? What have you seen this do for home inspection companies?
Well, I won't name businesses because this is their inside information, but I'll tell you what some of the businesses have done. So one of the larger home inspectors was looking to get into new office space, and this allowed them to do it ahead of schedule and bigger than they originally planned. So they took that income that they were saving and they moved that into creating new office space and got everyone under one roof. So that was a big help. What my original sale did the exact same thing. They moved out of everyone working kind of in their home and in garages and moving into new office space. So office space and growth is one thing they use that money for. I also had another company that grew to the point where they had 50 employees and they were going to provide health insurance, which was going to be about a $250,000 bill a year. And this switching to no fee actually covered that entire cost. So they were able to offer every single one of their employees health insurance, which I'm sure is a great point of pride for them because and knowing those two and the way they are, they really take care of people. And they were pretty proud of the fact that they were able to do it. And I was proud of the fact that this service was able to allow them to get there, a little quicker. So that was great. A lot of our customers will take this money and move it right into marketing to help their company grow faster. That's something we've seen that companies that do this, and this is not just in the home inspection industry. We see this statistically around the country. Companies that move to a no-fee processing tend to grow faster because they reallocate the funds. And the bigger you are, the more funds you have to reallocate. But I would argue that the smaller you are, the more it matters. If you're a small guy and you have no marketing budget, or you have no ability to even start the process of marketing. Now, if you switch to this service, you have a marketing budget, and that can be applied immediately. And let's say you're starting to get a little bigger, but you don't have any administrative help. So, your wife ends up or your husband ends up doing the books at 9 o'clock at night after they get home. Maybe you can get a virtual assistant that's $1,600 or so, $1,600 a month, and cover it by switching to a no-fee processing. And now you have an entire employee that's handling all of your ops work and all your services work that you couldn't pay before, and that frees up time. And that time could be utilized to sit down and think about how you're going to grow your business, or spend more time with your family, or take a vacation that you haven't taken in 2 years. So it has value across the board, and we've seen example after example after example after example. So like one of the most rewarding parts of this product, which I'm personally excited about, is it's altering lives in many different ways. It's either helping their business grow, it's getting people health insurance, it's getting people under one roof so they can act as a team, it's creating marketing, it's freeing up your spouse's time, freeing up your time. I mean, money. We all want to make money, right? But what's the old adage is you can make more money, you can't make more time. And that's something you can't buy, you can't create. There's nothing you can do to get your time back. And I think that's one of the most valuable resources this product does is it starts buying people time back.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, it buys your time back. Well, you can hire another team member. Well, you can add new services and
get a truck.
Equipment, anything. Or you can also just, as Sean has made clear every time I talk about this with Sean Rossback always says, or you can just pocket the money if you want. But the thing is,
Sean does say that, doesn't he?
Yeah. This has the ability to do so much for your business, but I want to understand some numbers here to help the audience really get the full picture. So by passing on the credit card processing fee to the customer and eliminating your credit card processing bill, what does that mean for your profit margin? What should they expect that looks like?
Well, if you're comparing this cost, people always say, well, it's the cost of doing business. That's what I hear a lot. I'm still hearing it. I don't hear it as much, but I'm hearing it. I'm still hearing it. Why? Why is it the cost of doing business? You don't. There's no cost of doing business to take cash. There's no cost of doing business to take a check. but there is the cost of business to do a credit card. It makes no sense to me. I don't even see this as revenue. It's not a resource. It's not a piece of equipment. It's not a service you're providing. I see it as coming right out of your profit margin. And so let's take a look at the math on that, right? If you're paying 3.2, 3.3%, which, and I hear this a lot, Jake, this is one of the funniest stories. People come to me, I got great rates, I'm paying 1.5%. No, you're not. Nobody in the world is paying 1.5%. The cost of the credit cards are all above 1.5%. You're not paying 1.5%. Especially if you're taking it through a software, which means it's an online card not present purchase. There's no way it's under 3. So if you're in that 3 to 3.2 range, something like that, and you're operating at 10% profit, which is you're doing all right. All right, you're operating at 10% profit. Well, just do the math on that. That's over 30% of your profit you're giving to a bank, so that somebody else can get rewards, so that somebody else can get air miles, so somebody else can get a point for purchase. Doesn't make any sense. So you can get that back. And let's say you're really doing a great job and you're running a 20% profit. Well, that's 15% of your profit margin that you're giving away. What could you do with that? How much faster can you grow? Maybe that's your kid's college education and it pays that bill. I mean, whatever it is. A bank, the banker isn't even going to say thank you.
Yeah.
They're not even going to say thank you. Your kid will when you send them to college. Your wife will when you buy her the new car. Your employees will when you grow the business and they get raises and they are able to advance in the company and achieve higher success. They'll all say thank you, but the bank is not.
Yeah, and one thing I want to touch on is you said. Credit cards, everyone says, or they used to say, it's a cost of doing business, but cash and check isn't. You said that, right? Because we offer free checking. Pair Payments does offer free checking as well, because when you do cash discount or this no fee processing, you also want to offer, the option for cash or check, so you don't have objections and you're giving options so that the end user, the consumer, has the option to pay however they want. If they don't want to pay that fee, for the credit card, they can just pay by cash or check. A lot of companies actually charge per check, but with Pair Payments, it is included with the price of partnering with Pair Payments. So I just wanted to touch on that.
Yeah, we made a decision 2 years ago that we were going to, if you were a processing client of ours, we were going to cover the cost of checks up to a limit. We could cover it up to $10,000. When it's over $10,000, the bank charges us a fee. We just pass that on to you. But if it's not too many home inspections are over $10,000, so we don't really run into it that much. But we made a conscious decision. It's a significant cost center to us to cover those checks, but we do cover them because in order to do this right, we want to make sure the customer has options. And when we say we really want to eliminate almost very, very close to every one of your costs associated with taking payment, we've managed to do that. And so we put our money where our mouth is when we said that we really want to help your business grow. We covered a cost center that's pretty significant in order to make it easier for your customers to obtain the service. So, yeah, we're proud of that.
Absolutely, we are. So we need to take a moment to hear a word from our sponsor, Pair Payments, and then we will be right back to talk softwares in the industry. So don't go anywhere.
The home inspection industry is highly competitive, and you need an edge to stay on top. You certainly can't afford to give profit away for no reason. But what if I told you credit card processors may be overcharging you and robbing you of profits you've worked hard to earn? It's time to put an end to being overcharged for payment processing. It's time to take back your profits. That's why we've put together a free report, How to Avoid Being Overcharged by Your Payment Processor. Head over to takebackyourprofits.com, download the report, and put an end to being overcharged for credit card processing. You've worked hard for your sales, and you deserve to keep it. What are you waiting for? Go to takebackyourprofits.com and download your report today.
Welcome back to the Inspection Pros podcast, and thank you, Dave, for this great episode so far. We've covered no-fee processing, what it can do for you. We've given a little bit about Pair Payments and what we do and how we really want to help customers grow, how we really partner with the people we work with in our network and our communities and offer them this great information like on the podcast and connections with people who come on the podcast and networking and all that. But one thing I want to talk about today, and we're really going to get into this, is software and software integration. Because at the end of the day, you're running your home inspection business through a software. And so you have to know, all right, if I want to institute no-fee processing, how does it work with my software? How does this piece of the puzzle fit with the rest of the puzzle that is my business? So Dave, today I want to talk about everything in software. I want to talk about how we integrate or how it works to get no fee processing going. And then we can start even if you want I want to talk about the status quo of software in the industry. There's some softwares that lock out specific payment processors and only let you work with theirs and all that. So I want to hear this from you, the expert in payment processing. So let's dive into that.
No problem. Well, this is always an issue both for us as processors and software companies as well as the independent merchant. Software companies for their business model are always trying to create new forms of revenue for their business, and I hold no grudge against that. Whatever their business model is their business model. What tends to happen is softwares tend to get in bed with some of the larger processors out there like Stripe or Square, and they lock other people out. And they do that because they're being given basis points, which like 1 basis point is the equivalent of 1 cent to $1. It's 1 basis point is 1/100th of a percent. Same type of thing. So 40, like some companies are getting as much as 40 basis points, and that's savings that could be passed to the customer that is ended up going to a software. So there's give and take on everything, right? So if someone's taking, if someone's being giving something, it's being taken from someone else. So when that percentage is given to the software company, it means it's being taken from the merchant, which means the merchant now has to charge higher prices in order to compensate for that. So ultimately, it makes it back to the consumer. So the good thing about our industry, with the exception of one that I know of, most of the industry that is out there are allowing multiple forms of credit card processing payments to be accepted through either authorized.net. Some people are fairly integrated, but what these softwares try to do is make it very difficult they want to make it easier for you to use their processor so they can still get it by still remaining non-agnostic, so that they know that the customer knows that they have choices, because choice is the most important. Any time in business that someone takes away your choice, you really should question whether or not you're doing business with them. Because once someone has a command of any industry, they will set the rules 100% in their benefit and 100% against your benefit. So having a choice and not just processing, but in features and ideas and concepts, having choice is very, very important to the growth in your business model. Because if a company just stops working for you, you have to have the ability to make changes. And that goes for us too. If we're just not doing our job for you, you shouldn't be with us. Yeah. You should be with someone else, and that's why we don't contract people. There's no contracts with us. There never has been. We're never going to lock you into anything with us. If we do our job, you'll stay. If you don't, we don't. We understand that. Good companies will do that. One of our companies that compete against us does that as well, and that's why I'm happy to know them and happy to work with them, because they believe the same thing. So always be wary of someone that's trying to lock you out. Like in the power washing space, Jabra locks everybody out. It's not easy. We still have a way around it, so we can still work with you if you're on Jabra, but they make it very, very, very difficult. Some people will lock out the no-fee processing if you use any other processor but them, so you have to do a workaround in order to make that work. So it can be a challenge at times, but for the most part, most of the softwares are amendable to allowing us to work with the customers that we're working with the exception of one. I'm not going to name names because I don't want to give anyone a bad name or I'm not a big fan. I don't believe in talking bad about competition, but the softwares and going from a software perspective, just in the general business, there's a lot of changes obviously that are taking place in the home inspection business, and a lot of private equity money is coming into some of these softwares, and it's actually creating, believe it or not, it's creating some opportunities too, because it's creating more space for more people to come in and provide a product that's going to be more beneficial to the merchant. Because I know of a couple of companies that are producing softwares that are really customer focused and not corporate focused. And when they tell me I could talk about it, I'll be on here to talk about it. But one of them is a close friend of mine who I've done some work with, and he's producing a software that's going to be on the market soon that really focuses on the whole business model, not just focused on the inspection reporting, which I think is really a smart idea. They've allowed they've allowed full integration of payments across checks as well as credit card processing to check off all the accounts, so you don't have to do any additional work. And I'm very excited about it. I've seen the software. I know the gentleman who is building it, and when it comes out, I think it's going to be a really big. I think there's potential for a really big market shift in the use of software in the home inspection industry.
Yeah, and so as Dave said, when you always need to question why someone would lock out all competition and in their software only allow you to use someone that they partner with. You do have to be careful of that, and we're obviously not going to name names, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't go with them, but you need to question that of why is it in their best interest to lock out all other payment processors and only use one that we're partnered with and get it?
Well, there's only one answer to that question. It's money, So, and you know what? It's fine if their business model works. This is the great thing about living in this country is that we have choices, and if a customer's okay with that, do business with them. That's totally fine. And I don't demean them for that choice. Yeah. It's a business model and it works. But on the flip side of that, if you don't like that, you have the option to go with another company and another service.
And anyone who's listened to this podcast knows that I'm all about sharing and community. I love to have on all the industry experts, all different perspectives, and share so that we can improve everything, raise the standards of everything. And to me, it hurts. It hurts at my core when there are people who want to just make money off their merchants and that's it. And so at the end of the day, you need to question that. You need to say, hey, how do I partner with people who are going to not just help me but improve the community as a whole in the industry? Right. So Dave, one thing I wanted to get into here is, so if you own a home inspection company, you now heard about no fee processing, and you wanna try it out. How does it work with softwares? And especially if someone's using a software that they say, oh, we can't work with this company or that company or Pair Payments. We can't work with them. They can't work with us. What I first would recommend is go ask the company they're saying they can't work with, because Pair Payments, I actually have talked to a lot of people that work with us that say, oh, this company I'm working with, my software said we can't work with you. And I was like, well, we have many clients that work with them as well. So go talk to Dave, talk to me at events, reach out to us. And what I'm saying here is in all of the industry, you got to just go to that company and ask them. But my question there, Dave, sorry for all that digression, but what does this look like, this integration, and how exactly does it work if you can't directly integrate into the software?
Well, pretty much with everyone, we could, from the credit card side, we could pretty much integrate seamlessly. So, we jump in, we hook up with that software. It'll work the exact same way as your last process, and nothing will change. The checking is a little bit different because we use our own gateway to provide that free checking service. And one of the big differences is the people that logistically have built it in are charging pretty high fees for checking. Anywhere from $3 a check to 1 to 2%. I saw one as high as 3%, which is insane. I mean, why you take the check? It's the same as a credit card. It'd be easier to take the credit card and not wait 3 days. So some of the fees are really high. In order to do this, we have our own gateway. So the only difference is the person has to mark the check off as paid. Mm-hmm. However, we're integrating with another software that's coming out onto the market where we will have that direct integration. And truthfully, it's not hard to do. We can have a checking integration with any software. It's whether the software chooses to allow us to do it. We'll even pay for the integration. It's not expensive. It doesn't take a long time to do. But it's just one of those things where, the company has their roadmap. We're either part of that roadmap or we're not a part of that roadmap. But as far as integration goes, we work with pretty much everybody. There's nobody we haven't been able to find a way to integrate with at some level to make it efficient for the customer as well and get them to save these fees. So they're not too hard to do. In some cases, like we have with Jabra, we actually just put a payment link on the email that goes out with their invoice, and the person just clicks that payment link and they pay on our gateway, and we bypass Jabra's payment field. So there's always ways to do it. We figure it out. I mean, the bottom line is you just figure it out.
Yeah. So are there a lot of home inspectors using Jabra?
No. Jobbers more in
Pressure washing.
more in these. They're more in the contracting space, plumbing, all that sort of stuff, power washing, termites, all that stuff. That's where Jobbers home runs are. In home inspection, obviously ISN, Spectora, those type of companies.
And so one thing I wanted to mention there is with all these auxiliary services that you can offer, we've had a lot of people come on to this podcast and say that's the way to go. No fee processing is a way that you can get extra money to then go into a new avenue of, am I going to get into this general contract? Am I going to get into pest control? Am I going to get into this or that? There's so many options as you free up this revenue, this cash flow that's on the table. And then, so Dave, thank you for answering the software questions and all that. But one question that we get a lot is someone's looking at no fee processing. They're like, but how does that company still make money? Can you confirm the same amount is being processed? It's just not the merchant that's paying for it. It's the customer. Yeah. So because everyone, how do you make money?
we make money the exact same way we always made money. Yeah. It's the difference between the processing fee and what the card costs, and all we're doing is translating the fee to the customer, and the customer is paying that bill. Which, in my opinion, it always should have been that way. Once they started offering rewards, it should never have gone on the individual customer. So, if someone's taking the rewards, they should pay the bill. It shouldn't be the merchant.
Absolutely. So, Dave, we know. So I'm sure anyone who knows you knows that you love to read. You love business information and learning as much as you can. So, do you have any resources that you would recommend to this audience? Any books or podcasts that you'd say, hey, go check these out if you want to grow your business?
Well, like I said in the other podcast, this podcast, make sure you're on here because you're learning from the people who are doing it. You're learning from the Seans, the Sylvias, the Robs, the Cats, the Vans, all those guys. There's a lot of smart minds in this business, and the old rule of thumb is don't reinvent the wheel. See what works and follow it. As far as resources go, I got into the EOS series of books, and we've been applying those models to what we're doing. I think one of the base places to start is The Millionaire Next Door. I think that's an incredible it's a quick read. Really gets you to understand the basics of growth. How to Win Friends and Influence People, another fantastic book. You always hear people laughing at self-help stuff, but those books are awesome, and they will change you. And change your perspective on how you do things. But the EOS series, if you're getting ready to kind of piece it together and start scaling your business, I think that's a great resource. Rocket Fuel is a great book. That's another one that you should think about. But regardless, my opinion versus someone else's opinion, the bottom line is read and educate yourself. Yeah. And never stop. I know a lot of people on this podcast know Dirk from Bergflow and IEB fame. He's been educating me at a level where I thought I had a successful business until I met. It is successful. We've done a very good job. We've had some very good growth. Last 2 years have been incredible. But dealing with Dirk and his crew have really opened my eyes to how much I absolutely did not know on business development strategies. And you could see that in the people in IEB. Not only has he built a community where people are sharing, but he's really helping some of these businesses scale. And there's going to be some absolute monsters in IEB. We look at $10 and $12 million companies, and we're going to look back at those companies 5 years from now, and they're going to be $50 and $70 million companies. And that's a great testament to Mark and IEB and Dirk at Bergflow, who have really change the landscape, as far as, utilizing groups like that, are great educational resources. And, we met them at IEB, and we decided that for us to get to the next level, we need to educate ourselves at a higher level. So, dealing with Wes and Dirk has been, not to mention they've become great friends. We enjoy them on a personal level as well as on a professional level. We're really, and I'm proud to say to anyone out there, if you really want to grow your business, you need to have a cup of coffee with these guys.
Absolutely. And I do want to highlight that the reason why you hear about and see IEB on this podcast so much, and why we have partnered with them, is because they have the same type of motivation as us. At the end of the day, we want to help companies grow. When you grow, we grow. We are incredibly invested in helping the community raise the standards and to help our clients grow. So they have quite the community, and I'm so happy that you bring this up as a resource because it's not talked about enough. I always ask for books and podcasts that people recommend. But Dave, you're so right. Is your community is your greatest resource. Maybe they are reading a book or podcast that they can pass on to you and say, "Hey, go check this out." Maybe they're working on some new concept or topic in their industry, something like that, or in their company. But the best thing possible, seriously, is talking and networking so that you can keep your finger on the pulse, your ear to the ground, so you know what's going on in the industry, the status quo, so you can keep up with challenges and obstacles in the environment, and so that you know where the industry is going. And I really think one of the biggest things is that learning curve, Dave. How crazy is it that people can just join these mastermind groups or these home inspection communities and cut off the learning curve? Like, you're just like cutting that in half, man. Like,
yeah, all the mistakes are weeded out for you. I mean, quick story on IEB is we did their event a couple years ago, and I particularly was doing a lot of events around the country, and I was really burnt out, tired. I wanted a break, and our marketing group that we were working with had suggested we go to IEB, and I was like, oh, it's another show, blah blah blah, and I'm tired. I want to take a couple of months off from the conference network, and Nikki insisted. Like, she called me like every other day. She sent me emails, text messages, and I finally just said, all right, fine, we'll do it. Mostly to get her to stop getting after me. So we got there, and we set up our booth, and Dirk gets up on stage. I had no idea who Dirk was. I mean, he's a young, good-looking guy, and I thought, who is this guy? What does he know? Right? I don't know. I didn't know who he was. And he started talking about how we actually create blueprints for ourselves, and how that blueprint could be very limiting based on past experiences. And that one sentence hit me so hard because I realized I had been doing that, and my partner realized I had been doing that for years, and it never clicked with me that I had some limiting factors in that blueprint, and I was really starting to lock in on what he was saying, and it got me focused. I wasn't even there for our reasons anymore. I was there to educate myself for the next day and a half. And when Wes got up and talked, and all those guys got up and talked, listening to Rob talk and Rob Lemoyne talk, I started to really focus in on the business concepts they were talking about. And I realized, hey, we're doing good, but I got a long way to go.
Yeah.
And that initiated a learning curve that I'm happy to be on right now. And then, being in that community too, I got to meet people like Kat, who I had talked to on the phone several times. But when I met her, I was kind of floored with what a leader she is. And then I started looking at all the other pieces, all the other people who are in that community that I've met over the last 2 years. And there's an exceptional group of minds and leaders in that community. And the common factor is they are willing to share. They care about the growth of their community. They care about the growth of the people that are in that group. And that's why the people in that group are growing at a much faster pace than what I see outside of that group.
Yeah.
So and that's a testament to IEB, is that they were able to nurture that community atmosphere, get people to not only work hard together but to play together a little bit too. And enjoy each other's company. And one of the things that Dirk told me about was we don't often have a lot of opportunity when we're business leaders to forge friendships and create new relationships. And one of the things they do is they set times where people could get together as families and enjoy each other's company and enjoy each other's time. And it creates a bond and a trust between the people in that community that have allowed them to really be willing to share the important factors of their business and help them all grow as a group. And I was so impressed that I ended up engaging. I look forward to going to IEB not to make money, to learn. Go there and just learn. And it led to a relationship with Bergflow, and I work with those guys now to help our companies grow. And I'm very excited for the opportunity to learn and grow and become better at what I do. And because it is a journey, right?
Yeah.
We talk about the end game, we talk about making money, but making money is not as important anymore.
Yeah,
it's more about
what's the point of growing your home inspection business if you're not enjoying it along the way?
Yeah, money is now just a measurement. It is the journey, and I really have gotten excited about our business again. And you hit levels, you become a little bit complacent, and but I'm excited about the journey. I'm excited about growing. I'm excited about continuing to have a relationship with the IEB community, and we work with other communities like I go to. So working with those communities and really trying to be a business partner that helps people grow.
Absolutely. And it's so fulfilling to help people grow. It really is when you see a company that you're able to help them get to the next level through your service or through the connections you're able to help with, facilitate all that. But one thing about IEB that I want to mention is the vendors there. So IEB actually vets their vendors to make sure that all the vendors are on the same page. So go to events like this. It's not just IEB. Go to events like this, but IEB does vet, and they have fantastic vendors there. But you have to go to these events not just for the networking and all the information and the education, but for the vendors too. I feel like these are places where you can really
build relationships
with vendors, learn how they can help you grow. And there's so many great vendors out there that work with many home inspectors and have that great top-down view of the industry from their perspective, like Dave. So go talk to them too. And
I mean, I just a note to that is they vetted them so well that I have developed a really close personal relationship with my competition in the space, which doesn't really happen in our industry. We don't talk to each other in our industry because everyone is so concerned about competition. But Dave over at Benchmark has become a close personal friend. We share ideas, we share concepts. Him and I have both, and I think that's part of the whole IEB thing is that we've learned to grow together. And that's a good thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So much great stuff here. But one thing I do want to say is if you're just starting out or you're in a huge growth phase and you don't have the resources, whether it's time or money to get to these events that we're talking about, which can be hugely beneficial for your company, you're in the right place when it comes to resources. You're here at this podcast where we have industry experts, people who know your industry, home inspection. You're here. You're at this podcast. You got people like Dave who know it from his point of view of the merchant processing side and all the payments and how that works. But we have all these great guests from whether they're vendors or big home inspectors or just starting out or in the middle, or we even just had someone on for franchising. It's a fresh perspective. So if you start here. This is a great place for finding this information, great resources, but let me know if there's anyone you want to hear from to get their perspective or if there's anything you want to hear from. So that's the audience. Let me know if there's anyone or anything you want to hear, and we'll get it on here because that's what we're all about. That's what we want to do.
Yeah.
Improve this community.
And I just want to let you all know, number one, we're proud of this podcast. We really are. This is a great source of pride for me that we've been able to bring some of the best minds in the industry together and help the community out. But I want you all to know out there when you're listening to this podcast, this is your podcast. It's not our podcast. This is about you. It's for you. It's to allow a venue for you all to communicate with each other and share really high-end ideas. So. When we talk about the title of our podcast, we're referring to you, not us. And I always want you to remember that and focus on that. This is your podcast. Use it.
Yeah, we are not the inspection pros. You are.
No, you are. Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you, Dave. But before we wrap up, I really want to get into one more thing. Just with your perspective that we've talked about, you work with so many home inspectors. I gotta know. What do you see that's working right now for home inspectors and what's not working?
Well, I could tell you, when you look top to bottom between the smaller guys and the bigger guys, I mean, some people are just happy where they are, and that's fine. If your business is what you make of it and what you want it to be, and if you want to stay small and lean, and that's good, stay there. But the ones that are really exploding have a very diligent plan in place for growth. They realize that the growth is really through people and the development of those people and pouring effort and time and even love into those people and helping them become a better part and giving them an opportunity to succeed and find a career path within those companies. The companies that are doing that are on their way up at rocket speed. and that truly is the truth. One of the home inspectors we work with, they utilize a VA network out of the Philippines through Rocket Station, and we've taken on that ourselves. We hired our first Rocket Station assistant about 6 months ago, Jake, and we're about to hire our second, and I got to tell you, it saves a ton of money on payroll. These are very highly sought after jobs in the Philippines, and this isn't the old days of virtual assistants where they're literally grabbing people off the street and telling you they could do something and taking your money. It's not that at all. Rocket Station is an unbelievably professional organization. They dot every I, they cross every T. They manage and evaluate their employees monthly. And the Mello who works with us, she is an exceptional employee and an incredibly valuable part of our team. I think everyone in my company would rather lose me than lose Mello. So it's a real testament to the program they're running out there, and it's a good way to grow your company and get some of the like operational stuff and service related stuff that you really want done well. Check that out, because the difference is, $4,000, $5,000 a month for a U.S. employee versus $1,600 a month for an employee in the Philippines who do exceptional work. I mean, these are college educated students, are college educated employees. They're professional. They want these jobs. They never want to lose them when they get them. And they work exceptionally hard. And she is absolutely 100% part of our team.
Absolutely. So what's not working in the industry, Dave? What do you see that's not working?
What's not working? Geez, we could spend days on what's not working. It really comes down to the individual company and what their visions are and where they want to go and what they want to create. But one thing that never works, and I'll point this out, is when times get a little tough, and or you're looking to save money and you start cutting. There's not a lot of places you can cut where it's going to create a significant amount of income change for you, where it's not going to hurt your customer service and your ability to provide the product that you're trying to provide. The bottom one lesson I did learn is stop wasting time trying to cut to save $100. Start trying to use your head and try to think about where are new avenues of revenue. And I've seen home inspectors who decided, hey, we're going to get into the pest control business. We're going to get into the power washing business. And what they do is they create other avenues to develop more revenue. You have the people use them. Never try to go the other way, because you're starting to dig your own grave when you do that. And so if you want to know what's not working, I'm not saying don't be smart with your finances. Be smart with your finances. Spend where you need to spend. Don't spend where you don't need to spend. But don't start cutting where you need to spend in order to save money, because that's you've made the decision to end your business when you start doing that.
Absolutely. Wow. Yeah. So thank you for a fantastic podcast, Dave. This has been some fantastic information. And I know you are obviously incredibly open to fielding questions, to helping people grow.
Absolutely.
So even if you're not a Pair Payments client, if you're just a listener of this podcast, or someone who got this podcast because someone shared it with you and said it would be great for you, and you want to reach out to Dave, where should they reach you, Dave?
Yeah, just send me an email. It's d.iava, that's Ice Apple, Victor Apple, at pairpayments.com. My last name is not Lava, it's Iava. Or you can just call me. I'll even throw out my number there for you. It's 833-968-7767. Just reach out to me, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. And if it's not about processing, fine. If you just want to kick around some ideas, I'd be happy to talk with you. It's all about us being in it together, man.
Absolutely. Take Dave up on that. He's not kidding. That's d.iava, I-A-V-A, at pairpayments.com. And then also, if you're curious about Pair Payments, you can reach out to either one of us, talk about no-fee processing, what we can do for you with services, offerings, all the stuff like that. But you can also visit our website, www.pairpayments.com. And then, again, please engage with us on social media. We're actually unveiling some new things in the social media space. We have a new Instagram for the home services industry, specifically our company there, which is Pair Payments Home Services. Check us out on Instagram. It's at Pair Payments Home Services. There's going to be a lot of fantastic clips from this podcast and and massive home inspection companies sharing great information. So if you love this podcast and don't have the time to listen to every episode, but you like quick little Instagram reels or clips, go check out that new Instagram. It's going to be bringing together actually clips from both the Under Pressure, which is our pressure washing podcast, Under Pressure podcast, and the Inspection Pros podcast. We're going to have the best clips of business advice, tactics, insights, all that will be there. So go check out those quick, like 7-second videos, all that, and some posts. So yeah, engage on social media. Let us know what you want to hear. Go like, follow, subscribe, all that. But please, the most important thing you can do for us is share this with someone that you think it could help. If you know someone who's looking to grow their home inspection company, share this podcast. Tell them to give it a listen.
Absolutely.
And yeah, it'll help them grow. And if anything, it helps the community as well. Let's raise the standards for everyone. And as we always say, it's a cliche, but rising tide raises all ships. So let's do whatever we can.
Absolutely.
All right, Dave. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, no, it was my pleasure. I had a lot of fun.
All right. So thank you, Dave. Thank you to the audience. And we will see you next week. And we have a fantastic roster of guests coming to you soon. So stay tuned. See you next week.
Take care, folks.
Thanks for listening to the Inspection Pros podcast. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the bell so you won't miss our next episode. This episode was produced by Jake Aronson. This has been a Pair Payments production.